Hello YouTube, my name's Corin Tristan Beauvais. I was getting on this YouTube thing to share an experience that I've seen other people share on the internet, quite a lot of people, which is the first time they take ayahuasca, which is a combinatory mixture of two plants, which is it's a very magical experience. If you've never done it, I highly recommend it and I encourage it. And right now I'll talk about what it did for me and the reasons why I would recommend it. First of all, ayahuasca comes from a plant, and I always like to illustrate the difference. Being a Terrence McKenna head, the difference between plants and drugs is something that most people get confused. Plants have been here for a long time, been growing for a long time, and have been on Earth for generally a lot longer than humans have, according to even scientific history. So naturally plants are more mature and have more of a stable experience. So for me, I took the first dose of ayahuasca at around 8:30, and I laid down and I closed my eyes expecting sort of like maybe an experience you would expect for someone who has taken LSD consistently or had experience with LSD consistently, maybe even mushrooms. I was expecting something sort of along those lines, and it wasn't anything like that. It was completely different. First, it started touching upon the fact that I lack a mother and that I don't have a good relationship with my mother, and I started crying, and it just started to touch like that part of me that was hurt the most, which is the mother thing, which is why I used to use drugs over and stuff. And she was talking to me about that, and she's like, "I'm your mother. You know, you don't need them. Like, I have you now." Like, and then she showed me, like, rising up to the moon, like, surrounded by flowers and animals, and, like, the fully animalated version of me, which is a word I just made up, as I can do that. As the animalated version of me, like, rising up to the moon, surrounded by, what I can only say as, like, effervescent jewels of praise of divinity. Like, it was just definitely an experience that I would say if you went to the grave without, it'd be similar to like maybe not having sex or not having your balls drop. It's like not a balls drop, not that one, but it's an experience that if you were to go to the grave without, a psychedelic experience, whether it be ayahuasca or mushrooms. I recommend plant substances, salvia, that's legal, but I recommend that because if you miss out on that, you're really missing out on a huge part of being a human, and that is having a symbiotic relationship with a plant, which is awesome. I got a plant back there. Plants are really important. They are what make me happy, and they want me to see tomorrow. So I have a symbiotic relationship with plants where it drives me on. So back to the experience, it felt like there was this sort of feeling of openness, and I started to get this really strange feeling like expansive openness. At one point I puked, and I puked really hard, and I retched, and it felt like it was squeezing my guts, and then all of a sudden it seemed like my soul left my body and my consciousness was focusing on the other participants within the ceremony, like the shaman and the other participants. I actually at one point was in telecommunication with one of the other participants, and he was getting images of me like turning into a werewolf, which was one of the themes of when I was even inside. I was getting feelings of the moon. When I was driving too, it was such a huge moon that night too, so I was connected to the moon the whole night, and he got imagery of that, and it was very peculiar. I don't really feel like a werewolf, but I do feel like when the moon is full, I feel like I kind of drawn to it. But I'm a Cancer. I don't know if that means anything. Definitely, probably something. But it was an experience that's unforgettable. I was expecting something more along the lines of like 6 tabs of LSD. It was more like a very gentle, like soft voice, like a teacher, like a gentle mother of nature, and she was telling me about how like the world is being destroyed. And I could smile about it because humans don't really seem to care, you know, and she was showing me that, like, we don't really care, you know, like, even I don't, like, there's nothing we can do, and that we're the last ones to experience the joys of what this is, and to feel the beautiful essence of the internal spirit of the forest, that throbbing drumbeat of the forest. It's so beautiful. If you ever feel it, you won't ever feel like, it's very natural too. It doesn't feel unnatural at all. It's one of the most amazing things. They say it's like a slow release DMT trip. I've never smoked DMT, but I can say that if it's probably, that's what the closest thing it is to. It's like a teacher, and she's going to touch on the most very sensitive parts in your soul, and it's not going to be what you think. She's gonna tell you what you need to hear, and it's gonna blow your mind, because it's gonna shape your soul, and she's gonna give you instructions. And by she, I mean the plant, the combination, the spirit, whatever it is that's invoked when you eat it and you let it in your body. And it's definitely ayahuasca. That's what I'm talking about. It's definitely one of those things that you won't forget. If you feel like you have something going on inside your soul that hasn't worked with other things, trust me, like this might work. Don't take my word for it, because I'm not a doctor, but that's a doctor, and it's also like a priest and like a coach, all in one, growing in the backyard. That's from Scott Peterson. Rest in peace. It's beautiful, and there's lots of teachers who will tell you about this. Terrence McKenna. You can learn much from him. Also, his brother Dennis McKenna. You can learn much about this from him as well. There's lots of people who will guide you in this, and who will tell you the truth, and will tell you that where you're going with this is you're being called in a direction. And most people, when called in a direction, when they don't go with it, they form a thing called regret. And so you don't need that, right? It's a process, and you have to go with it, and it heals. It's very healing. So I recommend that if you can seek that, you can find it. It's here. It's available. It's the best thing around. It's a real deal. Back to the experience, it was just very beautiful. It was entrancing. There was other people there. There was a couple that seemed to be having some struggling issues in their relationship, and I sensed that, and I was able to be the spirit that I am there for them, with them there, and share my opinion, and just be there. And I felt like I was supposed to be there. It was the right time. And another thing I'd like to say is, if you do go to one of these ceremonies, it's extremely important that you pay a lot of respect and attention to the shaman. He knows everything that's going on from the beginning to the end, from the time you walk in there to the time you leave. He knows everything that's going on, and they just know. You can't pull anything on them. It was really nice. I didn't have enough money for the ceremony, and he still let me in, and still gave me the medicine that I needed. So it's a heart game, and it will make your heart much bigger. And everyone needs a bigger heart. You can't imagine what you can do with a big heart. You can do stuff like this, It's really worth it, yeah. So that's all I have to say. It's a spiritual thing. It's not party, It's not party. Party is done, We're trying to heal. The planet needs to heal. People need to heal. And methamphetamine never made me a better me. Ever. Never did. Heroin left me looking like a scarecrow. And so I know where I've been. I know where I'm going, And you can't tell me that something that makes me puke and shit and feels like I'm healing is not healing. It's just healing. It's healing. So I tell my family about this, and I think it's important to share, and be honest. And be honest as you can. Even with as awesome as it is, it's hard not to just you can't, and be careful who you tell. And be careful who you talk to, because there will be people. And, yeah, it's awesome. Alright, Corin out. Thank you for listening. I hope you have a wonderful day, night, evening, Enjoy the present. That's all you got. That's all I got. Alright, thanks guys. Bye.